My God, this is going to be so fun tonight. I am here with the long anticipated show, Jim Gale, CEO of Nature's Crypto, foodforestabundance.com. You have to go there, foodforestabundance.com. Edible foodscapes, I'm telling you. And when the shit hits the fan, you want to be Jim's neighbor. Jim, welcome to the show. I just have one question right here at the beginning because I want you to talk most during this show, which is what got you so passionate about helping people grow food and finding freedom through food?
Well, thank you so much, Uncle V. Dan, I love your energy. I love talking with you. And I tell you, when I learned that the system is unsustainable and run by criminals on every level, I said, what the hell's going on? And I went through this period of cognitive dissonance. It happened about 14 years ago. So a little backstory. I am a big believer in vision. I believe in this idea that if you can conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. Thanks to great mentors, right? And I've been able to, after I learned that theory and wrote my goals for the first time and created a vision for the first time of my future, I was fortunate enough to win a national wrestling championship. And
wow, what weight?
150 in college.
Oh, where did you go to college?
I went to MSU, Minnesota.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I went to University of Iowa, the land of the Gables. Remember that?
Oh, heck yes. I wrestled some of Gable's guys. And,
oh my gosh. Well, good. So I know that told me more about you than I could have ever found out. Yeah. Wrestlers are the you're just crazy. You have the greatest work ethic of any athlete on the planet. I swear. To be a wrestler, my hat's off to you, especially being a champion.
I tell you what, it is a work ethic. And the fun part, after I wrote my goals, so this is kind of a relevant story, and I think it's important. I love sharing this. So right. I was 19 and I had failed in high school. My senior year, I lost. And I was out first round, right? And in college, in the wrestling room, high school champions are a dime a dozen. Like most people in the college room placed, and many of them won the state tournament. So when my wrestling coach had us write our goals, I looked at this paper as homework and I said, oh, Jesus, I hate this shit, right? Because school sucked for me. I hated school. I could not, what was going on between my ears was way more exciting than what was going on in front of the room. I could not pay attention. I cherish my ADD to this day. I'm so glad they didn't beat it out of me. So I wrote so it was a Friday evening. I put the goals on my counter or my desk in my room in college. And I got drunk on Friday. Then I got drunk as hell again on Saturday. Then Sunday night, I had to get to my goals because Monday morning I had to present them at practice. I had to give them to the coach.
Okay.
So I started writing Sunday night. It was about 7, 8 o'clock. And the person that left the room on Friday night and the person who showed up on Monday morning were two very different people. Because when I started dreaming of my future in a way that inspired me, in a way that drew me forward, it changed my life. I actually started writing crazy shit. I started writing, well, if I beat this guy, I beat this. So I started thinking, I think I could be an All-American. 2 hours later, by the time I was done writing my goals, I had written that I wanted to be a 3-time All-American and a national champion.
No kidding. How did you do?
Yeah, I ended up being a 4-time All-American and national champion, and was inducted into the National Hall of Fame. And
wow.
Yeah, and I like to say this because this is coming from a relative failure, right?
Right.
And so it's anybody can, if you can create a compelling vision of the future that actually gets you inspired, then you can create anything you want in life, which is relevant considering what's coming next with my life. So after college, I moved to Hawaii, lived there for 4 years, and I was bartending and just partying and loving life. And then I wanted to be done with that phase of my life. I wanted to get into something more adult, right? And so I got a backpack and I moved to Australia. And I bought a car.
So you graduated from college. You went to screw off in Hawaii for a little while.
4 years, yep.
4 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. And your job, you just kind of got by, bartending, et cetera. And then you decided at some point in time that you wanted to go wrestle alligators.
That's exactly right. And that is so relevant. It's unbelievable. And just remind me about this. The producers of Steve Irwin just reached out to me last week, and we're doing a pilot.
Wow. Are you serious?
No, it's going nuts. There's magic happening everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
It's layers and layers of magic.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So,
hey, I do want to say, because this is a crypto-centric channel, I wish we would have had this interview 2 months ago, because if I would have written down my goals 2 months ago of where I wanted the crypto market to be, it'd probably be a way different outcome, because it's been a beating for 2 months. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Well, before we go, I want to know what your favorite coin is, because I've gotten into crypto and I need to learn, and you're the guy I want to learn from.
Well, I'm a privacy coin guy, and let's see if I can pull. It's funny you ask.
I love it.
I'm gonna show you. These are really privacy coins. Bitcoin's on here as well, but I made this as a meme and jest. I got a little Cold War going on with this guy who I love. He probably doesn't like me much anymore, but you're a wrestler. When somebody punches you in the nose, I tend to punch back.
You're right.
So I like this specific coin called Epic Cash. That's my favorite. And he tells me it's epic trash, and I've been unsatisfied with the answer. So I just decided today to take a look at some of the coins that I hold. I hold Monero, Epic Cash, R, and Darrow, just to see how they were all doing. And I'll pull them up here. So this is, I hold Bitcoin. Let's see how it's been doing. The last year it's up 270%. But it is definitely, been trading sideways over the last 30 days. Monero has, over the last 30 days, it, like a lot of coins, it got hit pretty hard a month ago. But year over year, it's up 243%. Epic Cash, or as my friend calls it, Epic Trash Shitcoin. It's not looking so bad.
Wow.
The last 24 hours, we're up 18%. Last week, 25%. 14 days, 11 over the last 30 days, it's been up 120%. And over the year, it's over 1,000%, which is not too bad. Gran, I do not hold Gran. I do not hold Beam. I do hold R. I am a pirate. I love R. And they have been just pummeled over the last month. All of us are hurting a bit, but that will bounce back. And there is just a lot of good things happening with R that I think, but over the last year, you're talking up. That's pretty impressive right there.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And then Darrow, 30 days ago it was up, but it's just gotten kicked in the teeth lately. Therein lies a little bit of an issue, but it's up 625%. So I like privacy coins because Bitcoin, once you start figuring this stuff out, you realize that it's a surveillance coin. So if you can imagine, like if you have $100 bill, let's say it's one that's kind of weathered. It's been around the block a time or two, rolled up a time or two, if you know what I mean. And the fact that you have it doesn't mean you participated in anything illicit. 3 transactions ago, you just hold it now. So it's private, right? Cash is private, but Bitcoin isn't. They can go back from the day it was mined and see every transaction what it was for and where it was. And that inserts an issue, which is tainted coins, which means, like, let's just say 6 hops ago, it was used on some illicit website to buy something. And somebody who has the blockchain analytics, they can look at that and they can say that that's a tainted coin, and they can confiscate it. Oh. So with a lot of these privacy coins, you can't do that. R is like entirely invisible. If I wanted to send you 100 R, just imagine if it was in my pocket, poof, it would disappear and just appear in your pocket. So I like that side of it. It's kind of like, it's my business, and it's about freedom. And I know I'm going to stop screen sharing here. And Raphael, I do love you. But stop punching me in the nose and I'll stop punching you. Okay. Crypto is really, really, what I like about it is I believe it is a step towards freedom, done rightly. And that's really what drew me to you when I heard you being interviewed on the Higher Side Chats. Greg Carlwood, beast, best interviewer on the planet. And it was just fascinating. I listened to it twice. And you got me, because it's like, I can tell deep down in your soul, you are all about freedom. So tell me about freedom, man.
Yes. So freedom starts with the mind, right? The foundation of freedom has to be faith and courage, because how do they control? With fear and shame and hatred and rage and divide and conquer. And so the number one thing we have to do is to know that we are more than this body. We are more than just this, more than Jim Gale. I'm part of something bigger. Now, I don't know what that is. I'm only guessing, because of course nobody really knows, but I do have this undeniable, very firm faith in this idea. In fact, there's some crazy shit going on. I'm getting censored on YouTube, and I'm getting strikes. I'm shut off of TikTok. I'm getting strikes all over because I'm speaking what I know to be true, and these censors don't like it, right?
What are you speaking of? Me coming out of a 1-week timeout because I used the V word, which we won't talk about. Anything related to CV-19 is off base, but I can't imagine how you could get a strike for talking about growing food.
Well, I talk about why to grow food.
Okay. Enough said.
Enough said. Yes.
Like I said, when the shit hits the fan, it's good. It'll be good to be Jim's neighbor.
Yep, it will be. We've got all the seeds of liberty, and some of them are lead. Right?
Got it.
Yes, we are prepared, relatively speaking, very well prepared. And just like Robert Kiyosaki, I love that guy. I love his this idea of capitalism. So communism and socialism are the forced and violent exchange of value. It's theft, right? And when we raise up our energy as a society, regenerative capitalism, which is the voluntary exchange of value, is what we promote. It's all a very holistic kind of permaculture look at things. But here's kind of the problem with the permaculture movement is.
All right, I'm going to stop you.
Please.
This is what I do. I interrupt guests.
All right.
Because I don't have a good memory. And I'm telling you, if I don't stop you, I'll forget about it. But I want to understand everything you're talking about. So permaculture means, I don't understand what that means. Can you please educate on what that is before moving on?
Absolutely. Thank you for stopping me on that. Most people don't know what that means. Permaculture is a term coined by Bill Mollison and David Holmgren, who are the founders of a sustainable agricultural design science. It means permanent culture. It's all about, are the systems we're using in our society sustainable or unsustainable? In other words, are they life or death? Right? Every unsustainable system dies. And so what is the definition of sustainable? It's a system that produces more energy than it takes to create and maintain. Right? So here's an unsustainable system, the American lawn. There are 40 to 50 million acres of lawn in the United States alone. This crop is more than any other crop in the world. It produces and takes more poisons. It takes more human resources than any other crop, and it does not provide food. Henry Kissinger, back over 50 years ago, said, if you want to control nations, control oil. If you want to control people, control food. This strategy has led to a systematic dismantling and destruction of the family farm. They've even subsidized the removal of fruit tree orchards in lawns in suburban areas and families and all across the world because they want to control food. They are the slave masters, and you can't have your slaves being self-reliant and you keep control over them.
So I live in a community that has an HOA that is really, really anal. These HOA police, I just think they got taped up and shoved in lockers when they were young because this is their opportunity to exude some control. I presume that we're going to talk strategies on how to be able to play nice with the HOA or play in the backyard, perhaps. But right, because your point is well taken. I mean, we have lawns, and and all of us, that keep up with the Joneses, we need to have that lawn. Now it's a mandate because we live in these communities to where it makes sense, right? You want everyone to have a nice lawn. But when I heard you being interviewed by Greg, I was thinking in terms of my own yard, and I even did I did an entire show on it where I gave a tour after you. I was so jazzed about you. I wanted you to see my backyard. So because I want to do something with it because it hit me like a ton of bricks. You're right. It's just a whole lot of grass, and I pay a whole lot of money for chemicals to be put on it so that it's green, and it is not bearing anything good. The trees are not yielding anything that I can consume or my family can consume. So you had me at hello there. I'm just like fascinated. I'm like, this is really cool.
Yeah, the lawn's a liability, and yet it's one of the most valuable pieces of anything that most people own, their yard.
Right.
And there's so many layers to unpack that are very simple to understand. Once you understand them, then the light goes off and you're like, holy shit, have we been scammed? The lawn is the foundation of enslavement. If we use the same resources.
What did you say? The lawn is the foundation of enslavement?
Exactly right.
Wow, that's a one-liner I like.
Yeah, and it's demonstrably true. And here's the thing, Bill Mollison. So I was going through, after moving to Costa Rica and studying the red pill and permaculture and my period of cognitive dissonance, I read Bill Mollison's quote, though the problems of our world are increasingly complex, the solutions remain embarrassingly simple. And I started bawling because I had my first two daughters, and I knew that this was my path. This was how I was going to do everything in my power to ensure that my daughters had the kind of childhood I had, growing up fishing every day and on a lake and frogs in my pocket like a total boy, right? And I wanted them to have that amazing experience that I had. So I said, okay, well then here we are in complete enslavement in a lot of places. So what is this embarrassingly simple solution? And then I read Victor Hugo's quote. He said, there's one thing more powerful than all of the armies of the world. How relevant is that?
Say that again.
There's one thing more powerful than all of the armies of the world. And that is an idea whose time has come.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, what is this embarrassingly simple solution? And what is this idea whose time has come? And I kept asking that question for the last 10 years. That has been my joyful obsession to ask the question, what is it? And then to find a way to scale it, to bring it to market using regenerative capitalism.
Okay.
Voluntary exchange of value. So the idea is so freaking simple. It's just mind blowing. We just use our soil wisely, and we use the same resources. Instead of planting ornamentals that are not edible, we plant food producers.
Right.
And then we design it properly. So our company is a design company. We design food forests for people's yards, whether they be suburban backyards or large scale farms. And when you design mimicking natural systems using nitrogen fixers and beneficial insect attractors, things that 99% of people don't know what that means, that's okay. You don't have to know anything. When we install this food forest, you could let it be for 30 years. You come back 30 years later and you've got food growing everywhere.
How long does it take to begin growing food?
To begin growing. So now we plant combinations of annuals and perennials. And again, this is a definition I'd like to unpack a little. Annuals are seeds that you plant one time, you get a harvest, and then you're done. Then you plant a new seed, right? Tomatoes and cucumbers and lettuces and so on. Perennials are fruit trees and berry bushes. In fact, there's olive trees. There's an olive tree in the Greek Isle of Crete that was planted over 2,000 years ago that's still producing olives to this day.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing.
Yeah. So perennials are our focus for the long term, but we also know that there's a short-term food supply problem happening right now, and it's very intentional and it's strategic. And so we mix annuals and perennials so people can have food in the short term. And then once the perennials fill in, which takes 3 to 4 years, then it's a food forest that's just dripping with food.
Wow. I saw, I believe it was maybe on your YouTube, or maybe I found it within your website, but I saw I think it was a doctor, to where he was giving you a tour of his backyard with his little girl, I think.
Yes.
And it was just blew me away. Tell me about that.
So Dr. Ian Scott, he's my partner. He's our lead designer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we've got a 15-person design team. And I picked him for this role because he's an awesome guy and he's organized and he lives and breathes it.
Wow.
So, yeah. So our 15-person design team can design for every zone. In fact, just in the last 60 days, we've got designs in now 11 countries and over 35 states. It's going viral.
That's crazy. So let's, I'm going to, if I could find my mouse, I'm going to share my screen and let's go to your website just to give people a little tour. Can you see that?
Yes.
All right. Food forest abundance. We design and install food forests and edible foodscapes. Now, why is this and why are you on a crypto-centric channel? I would like to tell you why. Because when I think about my portfolio, you know, it shouldn't all be digital. It shouldn't all be centered around a Blockfolio app. So part of my portfolio, you know, includes some cash. I think we all have to have some cash. I personally have some metals. I'm not crazy into it, but you know, it's kind of one of those, if shit hits the fan, I kind of bought into the fact that it's probably good to have pre-1964, you know, silver. And then also you have the other things, like you want to be able to have a little ammo, perhaps, you know, if you're going to go hunt squirrels or something. And then of course we have our crypto, you have real estate, but food is something that, you know, I just never really thought of in depth until I heard your interview with Greg Carlwood. And I thought, no, you know, it's not crypto, but it's better. I can eat it. I can eat it when the electricity goes out. You know, my Blockfolio portfolio isn't going to mean squat. So tell us, now that we're here at your website, you walk me through it. Tell me where you want me to click.
Okay, so go on the upper right where it says Food Forest Blueprint Payment.
Okay.
Right here. So
and you'll forgive me if it's a little bit slow. I was freaking a little bit this afternoon. Our electricity, even though the hurricane has passed, the electricity went out, And when it came back, everything has been incredibly slow. So I'm going to ask people to forgive me, forgive us. This isn't the website. This is my Wi-Fi. Okay, we are here.
So, yep, there are a bunch of our design examples. You can see they're very well done. And now, my thing, I started a mortgage company back when I was 29, and within 3.5 years, it went from 0 to $1.3 billion in closed loans and 400 loan officers. We're using a very similar model, and our job is volume. We want to produce and inspire and empower as many people as we possibly can to grow food, which means we have to affect the supply chain at all the levels, right? Because anywhere where there's a bottleneck, that's what will slow us down.
Look at this. This is so cool.
Isn't that beautiful?
So this is so cool.
Yeah.
So literally you can supplant your green grass into a food forest, just like that.
Yep.
I mean, and this is stuff to where there's no guessing games, right? You guys, what will thrive in Tampa, Florida, in my case, right? Yep. Versus Goodland, Kansas. That's very cool.
We have food forests going in Thailand and Poland and Mexico and Canada, all over the place.
Wow. So let's look down here. So food forest design blueprint starting at $797. So once you're finished checking out and completing your purchase, you will receive a downloadable PDF with a link to fill out our food forest blueprint questionnaire that goes directly to our design team. Once you are assigned one of the designers, they will contact you and discuss your food forest goals. So it's about $800. You pay for it, and in return, what you're going to get is white gloves treatment with a professional food forest designer, and they're going to consult with you, probably get your lawn blueprint, right, to where you send them a survey or something, and pictures and things, and then you guys go to town, and like an architect, you come back with a plan.
That's exactly right. And it's a DIY-able plan. So we make it so that the customer, if they want, they can do it themselves. We give them the layers of soil, the exact plants, and where to plant them.
What if I wanted to hit the easy button because I hit the lottery last week, and I just wanted to have you guys come in and do it soup to nuts? Is that service available? Do you guys do that too, where it's totally turnkey?
Absolutely. We have cooperatives joining us all over the place. And this is also a very important aspect of the supply chain is we have a cooperative business model where we become the foundation, the brand, the marketing, and the business consulting. And then we support the cooperative who's on the ground doing the installations for people. Okay.
Now my claim to fame on this channel is I don't know shit about crypto. I don't know shit about all of this stuff, but this doesn't look like stuff I can eat. Is red currant and black currant, are those things you eat?
Yes. They're phenomenal. They're delicious. And then, so valerian, so in a food forest, you want to mimic natural systems. So you want to have beneficial insect attractors or pollinator attractors. So it's absolutely beautiful. A food forest is life, is a stack of life. People say, will it bring in the bugs? Absolutely. It will bring in the butterflies and the birds and the bees, but it'll bring balance, right? A lawn is a biological desert. It's death, relatively speaking. And this is more like the Garden of Eden, where everything is in balance. We don't have one type of food reproduced 100 times or 1,000,000 times like on these big monocultures.
So when I look at this, I'm just thinking about my own backyard.
Yep.
So you can design it to where there's still some yard there. But I also heard you talking about with Greg that I mean, to keep that green and mowed and everything, you're still talking about laying down some chemicals, but that would not be smart, right? Or do you still do that?
We don't use any chemicals. The only thing we use are natural systems like worm castings and neem oil and things that are found in nature that are beneficial. Everything chemical made in the lab and poisonous, that's literally destroying our world. Okay.
I am sold. So now my front yard where the HOA police go by, I guess you could submit a plan to them and say, hey, there's a tree out front that you guys planted. I just want to replace it, but I want to replace it with an apple tree or whatever. I mean, have you worked with HOAs that are reasonable, or most of them, participating in the system that's.
Yeah, so 90% of them are reasonable to a degree where, as long as they don't think that they're decreasing the value of the property around it, and they're worried about they're just in fear. Most of these people rise to power because they live in the desire to control, right? Which is a fear-based desire. Allowing is a love-based and faith-based thing where control is always about fear. And so what you've got up right now talks about the layers of a food forest.
Yeah. Walk us through this.
All right. This is so amazing. So you've got the under the ground layer, the roots and tubers, the things that go under the ground like ginger and turmeric, some of the God's best medicines, and sweet potatoes, which, by the way, are one of the best preparedness foods you can ever get. And then you've got the herbaceous layer and the soil cover layer, the smaller shrubs and the sub canopy and the large canopy. And then you've got the vining plants. So when you stack all of these different food producers in the same area, you get way more food than in traditional monoculture agriculture.
Wow. This is very cool.
And then fencing, like we love fences because we turn every fence into a trellis.
Oh, yeah.
Grapevines and passion flower vines and all the different vines. And they turn the fence green, which looks beautiful. Plus they become a food producer. That's
cool. So what do we have here?
Oh, this is my lot at Galt's Landing. So we are building.
Is this where I'm going on Sunday?
Yes.
Everyone, when I say you want to be Jim's neighbor, I think I'm going to be Jim's neighbor.
I love it, buddy. I hope so, man.
I'm in on this. I'm going to go see it. I'm going to go see this. You got to tell me about this whole. Now, is this the one with the lake or no?
Yes, this has the private 400-acre lake.
All right. This is the part my wife. I don't know how far in we are, but I can't believe it. But she's almost as excited as I am. Yeah, because her primary business is over in Orlando, so it would be really good for her. All right, walk us through this.
All right.
Walk through my next hacienda.
Yes, the next hacienda. So Galt's Landing is named after John Galt from the book Atlas Shrugged. And it's about the power of the individual and the family unit. And every lot has its own well and its own completely designed and installed food forest. So do you see where it says swale right there?
Where upper left, right? That where?
Right in the middle next to the pool, right above the pool.
Swale, yes.
So a swale is basically a simple ditch dug on contour. And the swale starts at the pond. The pond is going to be full of fish and crayfish. And then we're going to release the water from the pond every few days. And we're going to fertigate, which is to fertilize and irrigate the whole swale, which is with fish manure and also the chicken poop. We're going to put the chicken poop there. And when the water goes down there, it'll feed into the ground and it'll nutrify all of the plants that are within reach of the swale. And it's so simple. Like literally, this can all be automated where you've got automated food irrigation and fertilizing systems that are also functional because they create more food in the fish.
Wow. So up here where you can't see is going to be the lake. right?
Yep.
And then you're saying that this swell is going to be connected to the lake with some kind of a dam or something that is going to.
The pond is it'll go from the pond through the food forest, and then it'll go back to the lake.
Oh.
Yeah. The pond is where the nutrification starts. That's where the fish are going to be, and then we're going to release it.
All right. When you say pond, I'm saying lake. Are we talking about the same thing, or is there
there's a little pond on the drawing down to the bottom right near the chicken. And by the way, that coo, that's a funny word, chicken coo. Isn't that great?
That's awesome.
Yeah. We're all about freedom. We're going to.
That is great.
So, yeah, we're having fun. So,
okay. So somebody gets this lot, right?
Yep.
And they're responsible for the home. You'll give a little guidance. From what I understand, the one you're building, you aren't even going to have electricity.
No, there's no grid there. Every house will be completely off grid.
So how am I going to do my show, man?
Yeah, isn't that great? That's the illusion that we're going to blow through. We're going to live in luxury with as much energy use as we want, having solar and redundancy with generators.
Okay, so walk me through that. Let's talk about the house then.
So the house will be energized mostly through an abundance of solar with batteries. And then in case there's a hurricane and it's cloudy for 7 days or whatever, typically these systems are autonomous for 3 days. In other words, there could be no sun for 3 days and you've still got power with the battery system.
Okay.
We'll also have a generator that can run on biodiesel, which we can create on site. So we'll have layers of energy systems. And also the house will be designed for maximum efficiency. And I'm not talking about having to turn off the lights. I'm talking about having all the energy you want and redundancy without having to pay the big criminal energy entities.
So you're not going to have a wow. So you're not going to have electric bill. But I am going to want my sports. How am I going to get my cable?
Everything can be wired in, Wi-Fi'd in, and
okay. So all of that is not off the table.
Oh, no. It's luxury living. I'm going to have surround sound. I'm going to have all of it.
Cool. So from here, then, are you going to have a view of the lake?
Oh yeah, the lake is right up at the top of the screen.
Right here.
Yep.
And so they're going to be in this community there. I think you told me there are 10 lots.
Yes, there are 10. Now there's going to be maybe max of 6 or 7 left for sale.
Okay. 6 or 7 left for sale. And then that's, so the lots are about an acre, I think you said. Yeah.
Minimum of an acre.
Minimum of an acre. And then please tell me about the rest there, because there's a lot of additional acreage that's going to be community acreage, right?
That's right. It's a 52-acre property with thousands of feet of lakeshore. We just built a big berm for a driving range if people want to, or a gun range if people want to practice. And we've got this amazing lake. I'm a bass fisherman. I just caught a 10-pound bass out there 2 days ago.
Wow.
On the 4th of July. And then all the 30 acres, we're going to load that up with food forest as well. That's
so cool.
Yep.
Are you going to be is that at a huntable place or no?
Absolutely. Yes. Loads of deer and turkey and wild hog.
Okay, this is so fun. I can't believe I'm going there Sunday. Now I'm just salivating. I'm visualizing it because it's like, you know, I mean, look at this. This is just amazing. All right. So your services, so you can purchase food forest blueprint, custom food forest design, tier 1 solar. Tell us about that.
So a buddy had seen us on the High Wire and on Greg Carlwood's show, the Higher Side Chats. And he reached out and he said, Jim, I've got a solar system. And I've heard that a million times. So I'm saying, yeah, send me the details. Well, he blew my mind. He's got an off-grid solar package for $14,500 that includes the panels, the inverters, the racking, and the battery system. And that's where it blew my mind, because everything can run a 3-bedroom house completely off-grid. And for that price, I was like, I want to rep that. So we are offering that. I'm going to buy 2 of them for my house.
Yeah.
So I'll have about 30 grand in, and I'll have enough extra energy along with 2 battery systems. Really excited about it.
See, what I like about this community is, I've always wanted to play footsie with some homesteading. But with that, I think homesteading is a commitment and it's hard. Yep. But when you have smart neighbors like you and like-minded people that are surely going to be the ones who are going to, this is going to be a desirable community for them. I'm just envisioning kind of the collective teamwork that'll go into it, to where it's like back in the day when it used to be, where, hey man, I need some help. Can I need a strong back? Can you come over this afternoon and help me do X, Y, and Z? Yeah, no problem, man. I'll be there. I want to bring my dog. Is that okay?
Oh yes. I can't wait to get a German Shepherd myself.
Yeah. So this is great. So, all right, I'm going to stop the share there. So, that's awesome. I love everything that you're doing here, and let's just talk about return on investment, because somebody might look at that and say, man, okay, so that's $800. That's just to begin. Then obviously you're going to have to be able to source everything and plan it and everything. So the standard, let's say normal homeowner's backyard, what would be the commit? Do you think the financial commit, and how long do you think it would be to where it starts yielding fruit, to where there's a return on that investment?
Great question. So the average backyard install for a suburban home is around $7,500.
Okay.
We do have a lot of big farms as well. We just got a $93,000.
Now that's you installing it, or is that okay?
That's us installing it, and our typical margin is like landscaping. It's a 40% margin.
Yeah.
So that's with us. So if you're going to do your own, you'll save 40 or more.
But that $7,500 includes for a standard backyard. That'll include the plants. You guys do the work. Everything. You guys. Everything. See, that to me, that's not a scary number. I mean, because it's kind of like maybe a little bit more expensive than standard landscaping, but think about the investment. I mean, or the return that you will get one day.
Well, so food returns, annuals return about 600% a year. Right. And that's a standard farming number, where if you look at gardens and what it costs and stuff, perennials are way better in the long term, because you plant, let's just take one peach tree, right? You plant a peach tree, and after a year and a half, 2 years, you might be getting 10 peaches. After 3 or 4 years, you're getting 70, 80. After 5 or 6 years, you're getting hundreds of, like 200 pounds of peaches a year. What is an organic peach at the grocery store? That peach tree cost you $100 to plant.
Right.
Now you're getting hundreds of dollars per year for generations.
Yeah, and your neighbors are going to love you.
It's an insanely good return on investment that has been proven throughout history, but that's just the cash. What about the cancer reduction and the diabetes?
Right.
And the heart disease?
Yeah, let's unpack that. Unpack that.
This is like monsters. How many people get cancer? About 2/3 of people in their lifetime are expected to have some form of cancer, or 50% to 2/3.
Why? Without getting us in trouble with the YT police. Why?
Oh, that one, this is insane. It's the poisons that our whole system runs on, right? It's the poisons that are every level of our society, from the fear that comes on CNN to the glyphosate and to all the other poisons that are in the system that create the medical system and the whole tyranny and the control grid. So when we take them out by growing our own poison-free food, we have returns of investment on every level. In fact, they've found that gardening is as beneficial as yoga and meditation to your health. So now the act of gardening isn't just about the return on the food, the better tasting food, the food security, but it's also going to make you feel better.
And you know what's kind of interesting is you can almost liken it to, I have 4 daughters, and I remember during the process, the 9 months, there's just this anticipation. You've obviously contributed to it. There's something magical happening here. There's new life, and I think about you think about a dog. Yeah, I know you're getting a German Shepherd, and so I don't know if the mama is already pregnant or not, or if it'll just be they're going to go. But anyway, there's that anticipation that you have, right? A new life. There's something. So it's not immediate gratification, but you're part of it. And so I can imagine that when you have a design food forest, it's the same thing, to where once it's planted, you look back and you're like, okay, they look kind of itty bitty now, but then fast forward 5 years or 10 years, and you just look and you take your grandson or granddaughter by the hand and you walk through what you grew, what you planted. I mean, that to me gives me goosebumps right now.
Oh gosh. You know what, buddy? That is so funny, because I do a lot of public speaking, and I love, if anybody out there wants me to be on a podcast or public speaking, I love this.
How do they get a hold of you, by the way?
They could call me directly. I love answering the phone and inspiring people. 651-329-2151. And then my email is very, that's great too. It's Jim P. Gale, Jim, P is in Patrick, Gale, like the wind, @gmail. And I'm getting a proton mail. I'm just slow on technology. I lived in the jungle for too long. But that's the story that I tell myself, is my grandkids. I've got 4 daughters, and I'm so excited to have grandkids someday and have them share this experience of this food forest with the butterflies and the birds and the life everywhere.
Wow. So now I heard the story, but folks who are watching this right now have not. But you mentioned the Amazon. Tell us your Amazon story. What in the hell were you doing in the Amazon?
Well, so actually, so I was living in the Maasai. That's me with the Maasai people in the Maasai Mara, in Africa. And so that I just wanted to experience that culture. And I went there to Nairobi, and I got out into this hippo camp, and then I met some Maasai, and I was staying there for a couple of months. And so they invited me to their home, and that was an epic story. They invited me to a circumcision festival or party, or I'm using the wrong word.
Yeah.
But it's just what you thought it was.
Yeah.
There was a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And because I was the new guy, I was the white guy, I was the only white guy that had ever been in this particular community festival. They made you get circumcised first? Oh man, I was front and center, and I didn't really want to be front and center, right? I mean, they had me like right there, and I was probably turning other colors of white that I've never even experienced before. It was intense. And here's the whole community, the uncles, the relatives, they got so excited, and they were violently shaking like seizures on the ground, like right there. And I'm thinking, oh, I hope this goes well. Man, because if the child, the 14-year-old screams out in pain or fear. Wait,
time out.
Yeah.
We're not talking about circumcising a baby, that you're talking about circumcising a 14-year-old?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. A 14-year-old, and that has went through puberty to some degree, and they used to use a rock, now they use a knife, and the shaman, the medicine man, cuts the foreskin off right there. And if the boy screams out in pain or fear, then it's a kind of a shun on the family. It's bad.
God.
I'm thinking, oh my God, luckily and happily, this kid was stoic and he sat back, and all of the excitement in the room was, I think, to help get his adrenaline up. So
I can't imagine a happy ending to this.
Oh man. Well, that was it. And here's the part that
That was kind of funny. I didn't even realize that was funny. But
I was like, wow, that was pretty quick.
I didn't even really know I was being literal. I'm like, to me, that sounds like absolute child abuse. What?
Totally. But here's the thing that was really hard for me to understand and contemplate. There was a group of women right next door that I could see with a woman too.
Okay, so I'm not going to hang with these people, but you did. What did you learn about food forests from them? Let's go there.
Well, I learned, that was just a wild story. But I learned about sustainability and love, and they live amazing lives.
I would want them to love me less. If I was the 14-year-old,
exactly.
Love me less. Be shunned, family.
Yeah, they lived amazing lives. Their houses were made of cow shit with mud and sticks, and it stunk very badly.
Wow.
And I wouldn't want to live there. My eyes hurt when I was there, but they're happy. They're freaking happy. And they don't have any of the things. In fact, they would make a couple bucks with the tourism that was in the camp, and they would go walk. And I went walking with them across the Masai Mara, and they found this little hut like miles away, and they bought these 10-ounce warm Coca-Cola bottles, and they would use their weekly money. They would drink a Coke, and then they'd walk back. That was it.
Unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
And they lived off the land.
Completely off the land. And we poked a cow in the neck, bled it, mixed it with warm, so it was bloody warm cow milk, and that was their main protein.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, they wouldn't kill the
No, they would just stick it in the neck. The cow would bleed. They'd put their little leather flask up there, and they would then, after it was done, they would take the mud and splat it right on the cow's neck, like it's all full of poop and everything. And then the cow's neck would heal, and that was their main protein. How often does the cow endure this? They have their society ranking is based on how many cattle you have, so they have a very sustainable way of doing it. All the cattle, everybody was very healthy. Okay. So you were there for 2 months? Yeah. And was it just you, or did your family, were you a family? I was by myself the whole time. Okay. So you were by yourself. And so what aha moments did you have, other than the fact that you were glad you were born somewhere else? That was one of them. I mean, I was very thankful for what we have here. I'm very thankful for the United States, the freedoms, the Constitution, all that. But the aha moment was mainly that these folks are happy. Like, I was on a bus driving from just across many countries in Africa. I was the most miserable person because I hadn't woken up yet. I was the most miserable person on that bus. And everybody else is just along for the ride. They're just bouncing along. And I'm like, I want to get somewhere. Like, I was always in a hurry. They taught me to slow down. So what you're doing right now is kind of, there's a word that I'm struggling to find. It's bringing to life the notion of slowing down. It's like, right? It's planting the seed of slow down, because you're active. That was a word that I know you used earlier. Active is part of this recipe. And it has to feel fulfilling too, once you've planted it and once you know the potential. So it's not just, this little tree here. You can just start fantasizing about the potential of it, for generations even. And I do have one question. So is beaten into us, if you're going to have that green lawn, you have to soak it with your irrigation system, and you have to put chemicals on it to keep it green and stuff. You're saying we do away with that, but Florida, it's kind of, there are times of the year to where it's like now and it's just raining all the time. And then there are other times where it's just like desert almost. So are you
these are designed to where you don't have to worry about irrigation?
So you don't have to worry about irrigation, but you do have to make sure that, especially in the early stages, that the trees don't dry out. So for the first 3 months, like we planted a food forest at Gauss Landing, and for the first 2 or 3 months, we would go there like once a week and we would water the root balls.
Okay.
And because it was very dry. And you could see the leaves were down, and we'd water them, and the next day the leaves were happy and they were all flourishing. So you can do an irrigation system if you want to spend the money, or you could just go out there with a few gallons and spend a couple hours every 3 or 4 days getting a good soak on the root balls. And another thing that what we do is we put layers of mulch, wood chips and mulch, and that actually holds the moisture, and it helps create the microbiome that is the foundation of a healthy soil.
You know, I always have an ear for pseudo, you know, how everybody's using a pseudo in these chats and stuff. And I go by Uncle Vigilante, but maybe I'm going to change mine or get a sock puppet called Root Balls. There's something about that just is kind of fun. Oh, here, Root Balls is in the house.
I love it.
I'm going to do something with that. So again, part of the active part of the equation is, you know, if you know that you have to go water the root balls, you're going to get some exercise doing that too. So that's part of getting out in the sun, getting vitamin D, which I think we are. I mean, I started walking a lot when I was wanting to lose weight, to where, you know, get like, I've been a little lax over the last month because of the frickin' rain. But you know, I was getting 10 to 15,000 steps in a day, and doing it without any sunscreen or anything like that, just going full on, give me the vitamin D. And man, I feel so good when I do that. And I think that we are so depleted of vitamin D. What do you think about vitamin D?
I think that the whole freaking thing's a scam. I think that suntan lotion stuff, most of it is made with poisons, and it has bad shit in it. We only buy organics if we're out there with the kids and stuff. I'm not saying don't put suntan lotion on and get burnt. I'm saying that the sun is the most critical thing for your health. And also just standing out there. We're talking about 30 minutes twice a week, being with nature and enjoying the process. Now, if you don't have 30 minutes, turn your sprinkler on. That'll take you 5 minutes, and just let it go for a half a day.
Right.
So there's so many ways to do it. It's so easy to grow food, and that's the thing that we want to help people understand.
Right. So people can start benefiting from the food the first year, because you're planting like tomatoes and cucumbers and things like that. It's just like the peach trees or the big bearing fruit that is going to take a few years or a couple years, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Some things, bananas and yuccas and berries, they're usually going to be producing something within 15 months or so. But some of the trees like the avocados might take up to 7 or 8 years, depending on how big they are when you buy them.
I have a good question. All right. So in my neighborhood, it's a design neighborhood. It's one of these gated communities to where you have one builder, MI Homes, came in, and what they did is they built everything up. So it's, you know, above sea level. So, but the soil that they brought in is just trash, right? So how do I magically turn my backyard into something that is going to be, you know, that's going to be magical for the food forest that I plant when I'm putting it in trash soil?
Because we build soil. Okay, you already have a lawn, so you have the foundation for plants to grow. Now we're going to make it better by adding layers of beneficial things like another good soil batch with compost, and then the ground cover is the most important part. Having wood chips on top of it, that will allow the moisture and the microbiome to grow, because what you don't want is the sun, the rain, the wind hitting directly on the soil. That's what creates the dust bowls. That's what creates desertification.
Interesting. Okay, so walk me through it. If you can imagine my backyard, standard backyard. If it's just all beautiful grass right now. So just walk me through what the process would be. The only reason why I say if I retain you instead of when I retain you is because I'm going to see you Sunday. And I don't know how quickly we'll pull the trigger on something.
I love it. So, okay. So let's say you decide that you want a food forest, wherever it is. We start by getting a questionnaire to you about what your goals are. And then we find out what your goals are. And then we add a bunch of ideas that you might not have thought of.
I'll tell you right now, when I send it back, I'd say, I don't know shit. You're the professional. You tell me. I don't even know the questions to ask. So as far as my goals are, I want you to tell me what they should be. So let's start there.
That's great. And that's how I am with a lot of things. Like here's what we'll do. We will create a food forest that has about 25 different species of food, along with the nitrogen fixers, which are legumes, beans, and peas that actually build soil. And we'll put all this stuff in. You don't have to do anything. We're just explaining the process. And we'll put things like firebush in, which are very beautiful flowering plants. And those flowering plants will bring the butterflies and the birds and the bees. And then those pollinators will help the fruit, because that's what pollination is, like the seeding. Like when the sperm hits the egg, you want a bug to actually do that process. So we'll put all of these things in a design that uses half maybe of your lawn, that works the edges, that looks beautiful, like absolutely fantastic, and that will provide food for generations to come.
Now, do you still use, do you take out the grass then?
So we do, typically, not always, but most of the time we put cardboard on top of the grass, and then we dig holes through the cardboard where the plants go.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Wait, okay, so back the bus up. So why do you put cardboard on top? So you're still going to keep the nature, even though it's green because it's had chemicals on it, but we're going to call off the chemical dogs, right? And say, don't hit our backyard.
Right.
Correct.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, they're gone. They should always be gone. That is what's killing our waterways, our soil, and our guts and our minds, is the poisons. So the cardboard suppresses the lawn, which is a competitor. We want to suppress the competitor, and we want to feed the plants that we want to grow, which are going to be the fruit trees and the.
But what's keeping the cardboard down?
The soil. So we put cardboard first, then we put a little bit of soil on the cardboard, and then we put mulch on top of that.
Got it. Okay. This is coming together now. And then through where you want to put the plants, you're digging through all of that, the cardboard and the soil and everything. And then you'll put it in there, and it'll have a big old root ball, and you're going to need water source to get there. So you can water it, a few times a week or a couple times a week.
Right.
And then I imagine this is like any hobby. It probably gets pretty addicting. My question is, I live, my backyard, I have it's a beautiful wall of trees, and, there's deer back there and everything. How do you keep the critters out of your great garden? How do you, because I'm sure they compete.
So you don't want to keep the critters out. This is where balance comes in. You want critters. You just don't want a monoculture. Monocultures are what cause plagues, because you'll have so many of the types of food that one critter will like. And then that one critter will breed like locusts, right? And then that creates the plague. So when you have a diversity of plants, and there are actually some plants that stop the critters, certain mints, certain lemongrass is really good for mosquitoes and other critters.
Wow.
Isn't that cool? So you use the plants as your critter deterrent. And in some cases, a little fence is helpful too, especially for deer.
Okay, so you can do that. All right, now here's my big question. I have my home here. It was built up, right? But then when you go out my backyard to the edge of the backyard, it then goes down about 5 feet. And then what I did when I first moved here is I got a bush hog and I just cut that shit out to where I added like another half acre to my backyard. And then over the year, Bahia grass just grew and I have my lawn guy just cut it. Don't water it, don't anything. So it's just this big now 3-sided by nature. And then I added a fence. It's a dog run. So I can just go back there. But that would be the most beautiful place to create this, except for one thing. When it rains like it's rained, it fills up with water. It'll subside after a couple of days. And it's not, only one time did it look like a lake, but it did get there. And would that kill some of this, trees or fruit-bearing trees?
That would be an important element in the design feature to distinguish. So some plants like what's called wet feet or wet roots.
Yeah.
Other plants do not.
Right.
So we would plant the plants that do not up in the higher area where they've got good drainage and they won't get soggy and moldy and disintegrate. And then the ones who like that area will load those in down there.
So what would be some that like wet feet?
Oh, I love bananas.
Bananas really?
Are phenomenal. And there's so many different types of bananas. You could have a banana patch down there that would just, with literally like 20 different types of bananas. It would be
That's so cool. Yeah. What else? Come on.
I've got yucca growing in the back. We've got berries, certain blackberries and mora that are just thriving right in the pond. And then up on the higher area, you'd want some of the fruit trees, some of the like the cherry trees and the avocado trees. And there's lychee or rambutan. There's even mango. Mangoes are typically tropicals, but I've got them growing in my backyard, just loaded with mangoes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you kind of hit pay dirt and the fruit really starts coming in, I imagine that you probably get to a point to where you're like, darn, I need to hire an army to come pick all this stuff, right?
You let it go back. You can give away, you can eat. And if you let it go back into the ground, that's actually building soil. So It's all a beautiful cycle.
Great. So once it's designed and plant, it's like almost set it and forget it. I guess after you get through the initial root ball work to where you got to keep that, for the first 3 months, I think you said, or let's just call it a year. You want to make sure that but
go ahead.
But at some point in time, is it just kind of like you're not even really thinking about it? It's just happening.
You could let it all go from day one. And if there's not a big drought, like the first couple of months, then most of the stuff is going to last forever.
Okay.
Right off the bat. And this is where it's good to observe. You go out, if it is a dry, especially the dry, right? The dry and the hot. Yeah. If it is even 2 or 3 years in, if you got a couple months where it has rained almost not at all, then just go out there and give it a good soak.
Yeah.
And there's one other thing that is really awesome. So have you heard of pruning fruit trees?
Yes.
Okay. So pruning is typically you go out and you cut some branches off, which allows the tree to open up. The sun and the wind can get in the tree and it puts the energy into fruit production.
Yeah.
Right? But most people, they just go out, they cut the branch, they throw it in the ground, and that's the end of it. If you go out, and let's say you've got a whole food forest with 30 or 40 trees, if you go out 10 weeks ahead of time, or even hire somebody to do this, and they put a little ring around the branch that they're going to cut, and they put a little gadget there with soil, then 10 weeks later, you go cut that, and now you've got a $20 or $30 new fruit tree.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? It's called air layering. And you can make thousands of dollars per year, and you can become part of the supply chain.
So we're talking about not just an ROI in food costs. You're talking about an entrepreneur, a forward-thinking entrepreneur could generate, meaningful income in the future off of, $100 investment one time with a tree.
It's incredible. I mean, you take about 5 minutes of cost and you make $20. If you hire some local people to do it and you pay them an hourly wage, you're making hundreds of times your money.
Gosh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Tell me what's next for you?
Well, what's next? We're going to change the world for sure. Everything we've already done is already leading to it. And some examples of the 120 plus designs that are going in around the world, most of them are becoming demonstrators of why this is important to their neighbors. And that's enough. I mean, literally just with all of the amazing permaculturalists that are around the world doing this, it's already going to happen because it makes sense. It is the next logical step. In fact, when I say this one term, right, which you've heard, and I say, can you describe this? Everybody I know can describe it in glorious detail. It is the Garden of Eden.
Sure.
Everybody can describe that.
Yeah.
But one of the root deceptions of all time is this idea that the Garden of Eden is an impossible, utopic fantasy, that it just can't be done. When it's literally the next logical step, it's very simple to do that.
Well, we talked about homeowners. What about people who live in an apartment?
So I turned my whole garage into a microgreens garage, and I built off-grid. Microgreens are the way to go. And also the cannabis industry has shown the world that growing indoors with lights is actually very easy and efficient. So you can turn an old bedroom or a closet or into a complete grow room, and you can grow all the salad stuff, all the microgreens that your family.
Wow. We'll talk about microgreens.
Microgreens are baby plants that take between 10 and 14 days typically to harvest. Broccoli and kale and peas and sunflowers and radish and mini.
Wait, from planting to consuming is only 14 days?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. And they're between 4 and 40 times more nutrient dense than their adult counterparts.
Amazing.
Yes. So I do peas, broccoli, and kale. And the broccoli and kale is about that tall, and the peas are maybe 8 inches or so. And when you mix that up into a salad, it's the healthiest salad you could ever eat.
Do you even need to wash that?
Oh, hell no.
You're indoors.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's awesome.
Wow. Just because I'm a marketing guy, cool. You need to be able to add some pictures of like the salads that you make from onto your website so that people can see this was made in my spare bedroom. That would be very cool.
Oh, it's so great you said that. We've got 3 people coming aboard just now. One is an educator, and him and his wife, Alan and Elke, they're permaculturalists, and they're going to be leading the educational component of our corporation, of our entity. And then we've got another one that's going to be helping people who have excess, bring the excess to market.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we're also going to have a specialist in indoor growing, which will include microgreens.
Oh, perfect. Now, so have you, I just started this crypto channel, shortly after the first of the year. Didn't even intend to. It was just, I started getting into it, and I thought, well, I'll just document my journey because as I'm learning, I might as well kind of do it out loud with others. And it's just kind of crazy how it's morphed and has become something that I didn't think it would be and such. But I know that people love YouTube channels that are, topic specific. So people like crypto, and I got to believe, if you guys aren't already doing it, I would hope you're planning to be able to have a YouTube channel that people could count on. Like it's just a weekly, show with you and some guests. And today we're going to have somebody on that's going to talk about that extra spare bedroom and give you a little tour and show you what they've done with it, show you the salad that they just made. And, do you have that in the plans?
So yes, we got Telegram is food. Everything is food forest abundance. We've got Instagram, Telegram. We do have a YouTube, although I've gotten a bunch of strikes on there, so I've kind of slowed down.
You're my people.
Yeah. Oh man. So we're really looking at the decentralized platforms to be our primary focus. Although I still get a lot of energy from Facebook and different places.
Yeah.
We're trying to get off of those and onto these other platforms.
That's very cool. That's very cool. So what else, man? What questions haven't I asked you?
I want to inspire and empower people, because this is the solution to the biggest problems in the world. We cannot be free unless we are self-reliant. And it starts with the thought, meditate, enjoy life. Like that's the thing, is raise your vibration up to just enjoy your life and not be living by fear. Fear is a control mechanism. So that food.
You know, I was thinking this morning, I was thinking about doing a cigar walk. Sometimes I'll go on a cigar walk. I know that's kind of counterintuitive, but I like cigars and I like walking, and sometimes I like talking to the people. So I'll take my camera and just have a little conversation. And I was thinking about doing a cigar walk today, and before it, started raining again. And the subject was going to be how Telegram is robbing me of my life, because it's getting ridiculous. And it's kind of like not just Telegram, but obviously, email, just everything that has to do with staring into your phone. It's like all of a sudden it's 90 minutes after I woke up. Yep. And I'm like, did I even have a cup of coffee yet? Of course I did. But it's that thought, and I'm like, man, and what tends to happen is when your nose is in there, it's usually not a lot of joy. So it's like you may have a little bit of dopamine hit when the market's going this way, but lately it's been a lot worse than that. So it just kind of brings you down. And then of course, all of the world events, there's not a lot of joy centered around that. And then you get into little pissing matches with people, and that kind of sucks the energy out of you. And after a while, it's just like, damn, I yearn for the days that it used to be where I'd just go get home and say, Mom, I'll be back later, and go hop on my bike and ride my bike 8 blocks to my buddy's house and go, to the elementary school and do a pickup game of football with some other buddies and come back home. And, back in the day. But what is it that I'm yearning for? And it's just that toddy time, I guess, that's not influenced by anything electronic. Now, that all sounds good, but I'm the first one to put my nose in it, and that's, I guess, was what I wanted to talk about, is how do I kind of break this habit? And I don't have a good answer, but I have a sneaky suspicion that if I had a food forest in my backyard that I needed to tend to and care for and talk to, that I'd probably spend a little less time with this piece of crap.
It will draw you in. Just put a little bench out there and just look around, and you'll be like, holy shit, I've been missing this.
Right.
Things that will blow you away. Like what I learned lately, that there's so much wisdom in nature. It's efficient. There's no mistakes. There's no such thing as a weed. There's no weeds. There's plants that have purpose. Every single plant has a purpose, right? And like when there's a certain bug, like a certain beetle eating one of my lettuce or kale, the plant will actually release a pheromone, which the wasp nest up above on the rafters of the house or whatever, the wasp will be flying around, and he'll see a color like a pink hue, and he'll be like, oh, there's lunch. So the wasp goes down and protects your plant.
What?
The wasp will eat the bug.
So you're telling me I don't need my wasp spray to go shh?
The wasps are phenomenal. And guess what? If you're observant and conscious, you'll never get stung by a wasp or a bee. It's when we're not conscious and observant. These animals are in nature, I think, for a divine reason to help bring consciousness to us.
Right. So tell me about, because these scare the crap out of me, and they are deep in my backyard, water moccasins.
Oh, water moccasins. Yeah, they're kind of grumpy. I grew up in Minnesota. We didn't have any of that stuff. I mean, observant is the key to health on every level.
Yeah.
Right. So literally just taking your time and using your walk through your food forest as a meditation.
Yeah.
Look around, feel the vibration of life.
Do you know how stupid I am?
What'd you do?
When we first bought this house, and behind there, before I got the hedgehog and I kind of mowed it all down, I was like, oh, this is cool, because we'd just come from North Carolina, to where you can go through the forest in North Carolina, and like there's a ton of trees in North Carolina, and you go through and with my girls and everything, be like, okay, let's go through. We'll find a perfect place to be able to build a little fort back here. Yeah. So here I am. I'm in my freaking flip-flops. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to hike all the way back into these woods and find a perfect, there's got to be an open area, and I'll build a fort in there for the kids. So I'm walking back through there. Now, nothing happened to me, but later that week, I had a gentleman come out who I'm like, I want some orange trees back there. And he walked back there into the lower part, and he's like, sir, this is going to fill up with water. And he's educated me. He's like 70 years old. And then all of a sudden he goes, whoa. And he goes back, and a water moccasin went, like, I saw it. It was like a 45-degree angle, really fat. Oh. And I heard it like go boom. Didn't get him, but made him poop his pants, man. He was out of there, and it hit me. I thought, I was walking back there in my flip-flops without a care in the world, and that sucker was big. I think it would have killed you if it got a hold of you.
Yeah, I do wear rubber boots when I'm walking through the swampy areas and stuff. Absolutely. I wear the knee-high rubber boots.
Yeah. Note to self. I got those when I did the bush hogging.
Yep.
But yeah, it's well, this is very, very cool. I really appreciate having you on the show. And again, why don't you let everybody know how to reach you? And then afterwards, once this renders, it usually takes about 18 to 24 hours. In the show description, I'll include everything as well. So
awesome. All right. So Jim Gale, foodforestabundance.com. And my personal email is jimpgale@gmail.com. And Gale is Gale. And my phone number is 651-329-2151. And I love talking with people. We love supporting businesses that, if you want to be in the business, it's the best business in the world. It's very profitable. We've got over 200,000 worth of business just in the last 60 days here in Florida. It's an idea which is exploding, and it's needed.
Well, it's so exciting. Well, I hope to be a case study for you at one property or the other. I'm kind of hoping it's the one near you. You kind of had me when you said, yeah, we just put in a gun range. Like, Lord, what have I been doing right? I've been doing something right. So
I love it, buddy.
Cool, man. All right. Well, look, I can't wait to meet you in person. Thank you for coming on the show, and everybody in the chat, thanks for joining us. And you now have the Food Forest Man's contact information, and we'll keep you guys posted. So I know you're going to Minnesota, so have a safe trip up there, and we'll be chatting with you soon, Jim.
All right, buddy. This has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I look forward to chatting more.
All right, bye.